Welcome to Lecture 22, Dialectic and Dialogue, Methods of Philosophical Inquiry. Today, we explore two foundational methods in Plato's philosophy, dialectic and dialogue. These methods are more than just conversational tools. They are vehicles for uncovering deeper truths and fostering intellectual growth. By the end of this lecture, you will appreciate the sophistication of these methods and their central role in philosophical inquiry. To fully grasp the material covered in this lecture, I encourage you to read the recommended dialogues, such as Euthyphro, Meno, the Republic, and Apology. These texts provide a rich context for understanding how Plato employs dialectic to challenge assumptions and seek clarity. For instance, in Euthyphro, Socrates' questioning illuminates the complexities of defining piety, while the Republic offers profound insights into the dialectical ascent toward the good. Reading these dialogues will enhance your appreciation of Plato's method and deepen your engagement with the philosophical ideas we discuss. As we'll see, Plato's approach is meant to involve you in the dialectical process, pushing you to think critically and question your own beliefs. As we proceed, think of this lecture as not a passive absorption of information, but an invitation to participate in Plato's ongoing conversation. Engaging with the recommended dialogues will enrich your understanding and provide the foundation for deeper philosophical reflection. Let's begin by exploring the nature of dialectic and its role in Plato's pursuit of truth. Lecture 22, Dialectic and Dialogue, Methods of Philosophical Inquiry. Welcome to Lecture 22, where we will explore the two cornerstone methods of philosophical inquiry in the works of Plato, dialectic and dialogue. These methods are not merely tools for communication, but serve as profound means to uncover truth, facilitate understanding, and inspire philosophical growth. By the end of this lecture, I hope you will appreciate the sophistication and depth of these methods and their central role in Plato's philosophy. What is dialectic? Dialectic, derived from the Greek word dialectic, refers to a method of reasoning and argumentation used to discover the truth. Plato considers dialectic the highest form of knowledge because it transcends mere opinion and delves into the realm of forms, what he regards as true knowledge, episteme. In Plato's dialogues, dialectic often unfolds through structured conversations, where two or more interlocutors engage in the process of questioning and answering. Socrates, as depicted by Plato, is the master of this method, constantly engaging in dialectical exchanges to test ideas, expose contradictions, and refine beliefs. Importantly, the dialectical process is not aimed at defeating an opponent, but rather at achieving mutual understanding, and ideally, a shared vision of the truth. In the Republic, Plato elaborates on the dialectical method as the means to understand the form of the good. He writes, "Dialectic does not consider these hypotheses as first principles, but truly as hypotheses, stepping stones and springboards to take off from, enabling one to reach what is free from hypothesis at the beginning of the whole." Repers 511b. Here, dialectic moves beyond hypothetical reasoning and helps the philosopher grasp the ultimate truths about the nature of reality. One of the earliest examples of Plato's dialectic can be seen in Euthyphro, where Socrates interrogates Euthyphro on the nature of piety. This dialogue demonstrates the way in which dialectical inquiry seeks definitions and clarifies ideas. When Euthyphro offers his definition of piety as what is loved by the gods, Socrates counters by asking whether the gods love piety because it is pious, or whether piety is pious because it is loved by the gods. Euthyphro 10a. This back-and-forth questioning does not provide a definitive answer, but brings both participants and readers closer to understanding by revealing the complexity of the issue. The role of dialogue in philosophical inquiry. Dialogue, as Plato's chosen medium, is inseparable from dialectic. Dialogue allows the dialectical process to unfold naturally, making it not just a method, but also a literary and philosophical form. Plato's use of dialogue represents a pedagogical tool through which students and readers can engage directly with philosophical problems. The dialogic format encourages readers to become participants in the dialectical process themselves, asking questions, considering possible answers, and refining their understanding. In Protagoras, the titular sophist argues that virtue can be taught. Through the dialogue, Socrates systematically questions Protagoras, challenging his assumptions and leading him toward contradictions. As the discussion evolves, both participants, and by extension the reader, become more attuned to the nuances of virtue, knowledge, and teaching. Protag. 361e, 362a. This progression is the essence of dialectical dialogue. It does not end in simple answers, but leads to a deeper appreciation of the complexities inherent in philosophical concepts. In this way, Plato's dialogues are more than mere debates. They are rich explorations of ideas, inviting engagement from both participants and readers. As Christopher Rowe aptly puts it, Plato's aim is not to weigh them down too heavily with doctrine, but to make his readers think for themselves and make use of their own inner resources. The dialogue form serves this purpose beautifully, illustrating that philosophy is an active process, not a passive acquisition of knowledge. The structure of dialectic. In the dialogues, Plato often portrays dialectic as having a specific structure or progression. Typically, it begins with a problem or question, followed by an examination of possible answers, leading eventually to a refutation of those answers, which then opens the door to further inquiry. One of the clearest examples of this structure appears in the Meno, where Socrates discusses whether virtue can be taught. At first, Meno suggests that virtue is a form of knowledge, which can be taught, but Socrates refutes this by demonstrating that knowledge and virtue do not always align. Meno 86e, 87b. Through this exchange, Plato is not simply presenting a question and answer session, but guiding the reader toward a more nuanced understanding of the subject matter. The most intriguing aspect of dialectical inquiry, however, is that it often leads to aporia, or a state of puzzlement. This is not a failure of the method, but an integral part of it. Plato recognizes that confronting contradictions and difficulties is essential to philosophical growth. In the Republic, Socrates leads Glaucon and Adeimantus through a series of dialectical discussions about justice, ultimately demonstrating that the pursuit of the good requires moving beyond simple definitions and delving into the world of forms. Rep. 532a. The role of elenchus is the specific technique of cross-examination that Socrates uses in the dialogues. This method of refutation is crucial to the dialectical process. Elenchus helps to expose contradictions and faulty reasoning, paving the way for deeper philosophical inquiry. In the Apology, Socrates famously declares that the unexamined life is not worth living. Perner 38a, a testament to his commitment to the Dialectic method as the foundation of a meaningful existence. Through elenchus, Socrates reveals the limitations of his interlocutors' knowledge, forcing them to reconsider their positions. In Charmides, for instance, Socrates questions Charmides about the nature of temperance, sophrosine. The young man offers several definitions, each of which Socrates methodically dismantles. By the end, Charmides is left in a state of perplexity, having realized that his initial confidence in his understanding of temperance was unfounded. Charm 159b. This outcome is typical of the Dialectic method, which often leaves participants in a state of aporia, but also opens the way for further reflection. Dialectic and the search for the good. Plato's use of dialectic is always in the service of higher philosophical goals, and no goal is higher for Plato than the discovery of the good. In the Republic, dialectic is described as the method through which philosophers ascend to the knowledge of the good, the ultimate principle that illuminates all other forms of knowledge. Repern 504b, 505a. This pursuit of the good is not merely intellectual, but also practical, as it guides individuals toward virtuous living. Dialectic helps individuals understand not just abstract concepts, but how these concepts apply to their lives. In Phaedo, the dialogue that discusses the immortality of the soul, Socrates uses dialectic to help his companions see that the soul's immortality is not just a theoretical idea, but has profound implications for how they should live their lives. Phaedo 107c. Limitations and criticisms of dialectic. While Plato holds the dialectical method in high esteem, it is not without its limitations. One significant criticism is that dialectic often leads to a state of aporia or perplexity without providing clear answers. In dialogues like Meno and Charmides, the discussions end not with definitive conclusions, but with a sense of confusion. Some readers may find this frustrating, as it seems to offer more questions than answers. Moreover, not all of Plato's interlocutors are capable of engaging in dialectic at the same level as Socrates. In Gorgias, for instance, Socrates' interlocutors, Gorgias, Polus, and Callicles, often struggle to keep up with his rigorous questioning. This creates an imbalance in the dialogue, where Socrates appears to dominate the conversation rather than engage in a genuine exchange of ideas. Gorg. 483b, 484c. Nevertheless, Plato's commitment to dialectic reflects his belief that philosophical inquiry is a process, not a destination. Even when it leads to aporia, dialectic serves its purpose by helping individuals recognize the limits of their knowledge and encouraging them to continue searching for the truth. Conclusion: dialogue and dialectic as living philosophy. In conclusion, dialectic and dialogue are not merely methods for Plato. They are the very essence of philosophical inquiry. Through dialectic, Plato seeks to uncover the truth by questioning assumptions, testing hypotheses, and refining ideas. Dialogue, as the literary form, invites the reader to participate in this process, making philosophy a living, breathing activity rather than a static body of knowledge. The ultimate goal of dialectic is to discover the good, which for Plato is the highest form of knowledge. Through the dialectical process, individuals not only gain intellectual insight, but are also guided toward virtuous living. While dialectic may sometimes lead to aporia, this is not a failure, but an opportunity for deeper reflection and continued inquiry. As we conclude this lecture, I encourage you to reflect on how the dialectical method can apply to your own philosophical inquiries. Whether through structured questioning, dialogue with others, or self-reflection, dialectic offers a powerful means of uncovering truth and understanding. This process is not always straightforward, and at times it may feel frustrating, especially when it leads to aporia. But as Socrates often demonstrated, the journey toward understanding is as important as the destination. It is through questioning and reevaluating our beliefs that we grow intellectually and morally. 8. Practical applications of dialectic and dialogue. The practical applications of Plato's methods are as relevant today as they were in ancient Greece. In contemporary philosophical discourse, education, and even in everyday life, we use dialectical reasoning to examine beliefs, challenge assumptions, and work toward greater understanding. In the classroom, for instance, the Socratic method, a form of dialectical questioning, remains a staple for teaching critical thinking. It encourages students to question their own ideas and engage in reasoned debate, helping them to develop their own insights rather than passively receiving information. In the field of ethics, dialectic is particularly valuable. Ethical questions are rarely black and white. They often involve competing values, principles, and consequences. Through dialectical inquiry, we can explore these tensions and work toward solutions that are more informed, nuanced, and just. The same can be said for political philosophy, where dialogue is essential for negotiating differences and finding common ground. Plato's dialogues also remind us of the importance of listening and engaging with others. The dialectical method is not about winning an argument or proving others wrong. It is about seeking truth together. In a world that often values quick conclusions and certainty, Plato's commitment to dialectic teaches us the value of patience, humility, and the recognition that we do not have all the answers. 9. Conclusion: the ongoing value of dialectic and dialogue. To summarize, the dialectical method and the use of dialogue are central to Plato's vision of philosophy as an active, engaged, and ongoing pursuit of truth. Through dialectic, we question assumptions, clarify concepts, and challenge ourselves and others to think more deeply. Dialogue, as both a literary and philosophical form, allows this process to unfold in a collaborative, dynamic manner that invites participation from all who are willing to engage. As you continue your study of Plato, I encourage you to embrace these methods, not just as academic exercises, but as tools for living a thoughtful and reflective life. Plato's dialogues are as much about how we should think as they are about what we should think. Through dialectic and dialogue, we learn to examine our own beliefs, engage with others in meaningful conversation, and seek truth, not for its own sake, but for the sake of living a good and virtuous life. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to continuing our philosophical journey together in the next lecture.